Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the creators, the magic makers, the dreamers, and the achievers. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt Mills is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube production, photography work, or a new headshot, he can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, go to photosbywalt.com. We also want to give a shout out to our friend Chris Clow at Upbeat Media Productions. If you are in need of turnkey special event production, Glow is your go-to. You can learn more about him and his work at upbeatmediapro.com. All right, we got it all out. Super excited to welcome our guest to the show today, Jay Maymi. So we got to tell our audience a little bit about you, Jay, before we get going, and we're going to jump into this. Jay says there's an advantage to growing up in a humble setting with meager means. The reality of your circumstances can either pummel you into mediocrity or extract you from a burning desire to excel and rise above. Jay's story is one of the latter. For the last 3 decades, his hunger to rise above has yielded impressive accomplishments, from multiple successful businesses to bodybuilding championships, radio, TV stage, and print work, to authoring 5 books, from an entire sales and personal development series to speaking in front of many diverse audience. All have uniquely qualified him to offer valuable knowledge, instruction, inspiration, and impact to those seeking to develop a higher and greater expression of themselves. So welcome to the show, Jay. We are super excited. I had to get like all that bio out. It was like so good. my favorite part of the whole show is the bios, just so you know. I love reading them. Favorite part. I'm like, if you need a keynote speaker to read you an intro, I'm your person. So welcome to the show, Jay. Super excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so our audience, I know Chloe and I were looking at this and we're like, what do we put for Jay's title? He's just done like so many great things. So like we said, you're just like, vast in knowledge here because you've had so many experiences. But what I want to do to start this off, I want to kind of talk a little bit about what led you to where you are today. How did we get here? So tell us a little bit about your background and how we ended up here.
Well, pretty much like as you read there, I grew up in Spanish Harlem, a place called El Barrio. It's in New York City. It's not the place I would go to if I would advise anyone to go there if you're looking to vacation. I mean, you go there if you want to learn how to run fast.
Run fast.
Right? Or speed walk.
Yeah.
Then you go to Spanish Harlem. But that's where I grew up, me and my twin brother. I have a twin.
Okay.
And so my mom and dad came here from Puerto Rico when I was very, very young. Actually, they adopted us when they came here from Puerto Rico, so I'm a product of adoption. And as a result of that, you do grow up in meager means. It's very difficult in that community to live on any. There's no luxury, but that really for me helped me understand that if I was going to make something happen, it would have to be up to me. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're forced to do things that others are given, when they're given something, and you're forced to pursue something that you want as opposed to just being given it, it does develop in you a certain trait, a certain characteristic. It certainly gives you a chance to develop who you are, at least your entrepreneurial spirit, which is what happened for me. So when I was 13 years old, I at that point, when you're a young kid, you like to have what all the other kids have, right? The fancy sneakers, the jeans, the Jordache jeans, the Walkmans, that kind of stuff back in the 80s.
Yep.
And so we couldn't afford that kind of stuff. So if I was going to buy it, I'd have to go figure out a way to make money. And in that neighborhood, there's certainly plenty of ways to figure out how to make money illegally.
Right.
And thankfully, our parents kept us on the straight and narrow. So we started, when I say me and my brother, we actually started to pick up bottles and cans off the ground at Central Park, which wasn't far from where we lived, for the nickel. Because you could trade the cans in for a nickel. Yeah. And that's what we used to do to generate enough income to buy the things we needed to buy. But what it did was it really just turned on the light switch internally of this entrepreneurial spirit that I continue to develop ever since then through multiple different expressions. And even today, it's just the expressions of everything you read there is just outlets of my entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think that, it's so funny because I feel like we have this question because obviously everybody we bring on our show is an entrepreneur in some form, right? Mm-hmm. In fashion. And I feel like some people it's like they develop that drive very early on. Like even when I think about my 3 children, I've got my oldest being 26, my youngest being 18, and people will ask me, are all my kids like me? And I'm like, Well, yeah, in certain ways, but there's only one of them that I really think is going to be a major, like the entrepreneur. That's going to be my son because he's a hustler. He moves and he's a negotiator and he's always, I say wheeling and dealing, trying to figure out something. But to your point about the bottles, I do remember doing that because I grew up in the 80s. I'm an early 70s child, so I remember that. We used to mow yards. Like somebody put a post on Facebook the other day and said, like, what was your first job? And I'm like, mowing yards. $2.50.
That's right. That's right.
We did because we were kid entrepreneurs, right? And then it just kind of manifests from that into the next phase. So I love this story. And so tell us a little bit about, you've got so many things I want to dive in on, but tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now. Like, how are you helping your clients? What is it specifically that you're doing?
Well, a number of different ways. It's either giving messages of inspiration on my radio talk show. We just made our 100th broadcast. I'm pretty excited about that. It's a syndicated show, and we had Bill O'Reilly came on as my featured guest for that.
Congratulations.
That was pretty awesome. Yes, it was awesome. So that's another expression. That's really just delivering powerful messages to people to help them thrive. The actual name of the show is Your Hour of Thrive Time.
Okay.
So it's just an eclectic group of people that come in to really deliver content that helps people thrive in different areas of life. But apart from that, I'm also a sales psychologist and a subliminal sales expert. So I really dive into the weeds of teaching people in companies and corporations how to provide better customer service, better superior sales service, just provide better experiences, but using more than just the typical stuff that's out there is really diving into the psychology of how we think and how we process information. I have a sales course called Thrive Sales Mastery. I'm also, again, a keynote speaker, do tons of speaking in different dynamics and for different reasons. I still have my financial services business. That was actually my first entrepreneurial expression back when I was 21 years old. That really was outside of just personal training. That's really the business that I developed. That was what I thought at the time was long-standing and is still here today. So I help people in multiple different ways, you know.
Yeah.
But it's all based on personal growth and development.
Yeah, and you said something earlier that I thought was really interesting because I feel like a lot of what I do is also the same thing as the psychology of helping people. And I think, you know, when you work with people, first of all, if you've been in any type of network marketing space and you've worked with people, I think in any space, I always say there's therapy involved.
Absolutely, right.
There's counseling and therapy
involved. You're a
involved.
therapist.
Yes,
right.
Because you are helping people, and if you're helping anybody do anything great, there's going to be some drama in the middle of that, right? So I feel like when you work with people for so long, you start to really learn that, you know, a lot of the things that we're trying to work through, and I'm working with an accelerator right now on a big project that I'm trying to create as well, that you start finding out that there's a lot of these like adaptive challenges and these things that we have to really help them overcome because they're trying to do all these massive goals and achieve all these things, and they're really conflicting so much with the subconscious mind on such a big level. So I really love that you're kind of going deeper into that. Absolutely. Because I think a lot of times coaches, and I say this because I'm one too, so I can speak this, you know, in that space. I feel like a lot of times it's kind of like, you know, if you talk about like dieting and exercise, because we're both in that fitness world too, that there's so many of these quick hacks, like go out and learn this and go out and learn this. And I think you and I know that, and I think Chloe would probably agree, people are not going to gain anything from this if they're not really willing to go deep.
Right.
And break down all these adaptive challenges. That's going to be a quick temporary fix. And then they're going to learn this little hack. And then tomorrow, when it's all said and done, they're going to go right back to their old habits. So
no, I agree. A lot of it is formulaic.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when I speak to coaches and people all the time, and I just by hearing them, and again, I can't say there's nothing wrong with them because you can only produce what you know. You can only share what you've learned yourself. Right. But a lot of it is just regurgitated stuff, you know, and I think you have to go beneath the surface. That's what puts me in a very unique position because I have the degrees in psychology. I have the degrees in behavioral science. Yeah. And I've been in the trenches dealing with people since I was 13 years old through multiple different, businesses. So I can apply what I've learned in the textbook, but also apply it in what I've learned in real life. And it's a unique set of experiences that really, I think it's what allows me to really touch people where they aren't being touched or they aren't being really met. And that is at that psychological level where the magic really happens.
Yeah, we could talk a long time on that if you just so you know.
Oh yeah.
That's like my subject is like, 'cause it's like people, I feel like, you know, because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and most of mine are female entrepreneurs, and they're kind of in that startup phase where they're either just started, they're really trying to expand their business, or they're kind of switching, transitioning here from maybe either corporate to entrepreneur or just a whole new business. And it's usually they come to me with this idea that like, I need better marketing or I need better leads or something like that. And I always get back to okay, this is like the surface level problem right now. We got a lot of other stuff we got to get to before we can even worry about this, because when we fix this, that's going to be easier, you know?
I
agree.
But
you can't, it's hard to go to people and say, well, let me fix you as a human. You know what I mean?
Right,
I'm going to make you a better human being, right? We don't am I bad? Am I a bad human, right? No, we all have it. We all have adaptive challenges we got to work through, right? We just don't know usually we don't know until something big happens, and then it hits us in the face, and then we go, oh.
Correct.
Now I need to change something, right? Right? It's not working, right? I've had many of those. That's why I'm saying that. I've had many of those moments, So it's been a journey, but I love what you're doing with that, and I love all the just the different areas that you're touching your people. And I do want to say his hat is like, I keep looking at it. He's got positive vibes on his hat. It's like awesome. I love it. Love it. Is that like your attire, or is that just a hat you have?
Well, I wear different hats with different messages.
Okay.
But one of the reasons why I wear those hats is because I want people to engage with me.
Okay.
It's just a very subtle way to market.
Yeah.
Right.
It's your branding.
It's branding, and if I'm a prolific prospector, and if you're in business, you're the CEO, you're the marketing person. I mean, I am Jay Maymi Inc. Right. I'm the first and most important marketing person in my company, right? I can find people two ways. Either they're going to come to me or I'm going to go to them. Well, if I wear a hat like that, and this is one of the things I teach, the right person's going to comment. The right person, and it happens. People say, hey, I love the hat. Hey,
like I just did.
Right, like you just did.
Yeah.
So it creates engagement where I don't have to say anything. They come to me.
Yeah.
And then now they're in my Venus flytrap.
Venus flytrap. I like that. One of my other friends has a podcast, Larry Roberts. We can give a shout out. He's been on my old show a couple times, but he wears a red hat. And he does a lot of podcast training and goes to a lot of the podcast type events, and he talks about his red hat. And I saw a video just this morning that he was talking about the red hat goes with Larry. So whatever show Larry goes on, the red hat and Larry go together, and that's how you know it's Larry's with the red hat.
I like that.
You know? So makes perfect sense. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had another question and I lost it because I got onto another subject.
It's the hat's fault.
That hat messed me up. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about your bodybuilding, like how you got into this, and are you still doing this? Obviously, you're still working out. So tell us a little bit about that, how that kind of came about for you.
Well, I actually started in bodybuilding when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
I played college ball. I was an all-city high school football player. And then when I realized I wasn't going to play college ball, I went to college, but I wasn't good enough to play at a higher football at a higher level. I decided just to continue to stay fit and compete in bodybuilding. So by the time I was 22, I was competing, and I won a number of natural bodybuilding shows. I've never did the non-natural shows. I did the natural bodybuilding. But it's interesting because I won a bunch of shows back from between age 22 and 25. And then at 25 years old, I decided I was just going to hang up for a bit. But I would come back one day and compete as a master, which is the master's division. And that's when you're 50 and over, you get to compete. So I've always said I'm going to teach my kids a lesson that you can do whatever you want at any point in time in life. Age has nothing to do with it. And if you're determined enough, you can get there, right? And so about a month ago, I said, I'm going to compete again. I stay close enough so that I'm not too far off from a competition date. And I've kept myself that disciplined all of these years. So about a month ago, literally, there was a competition in Dallas. I went to see it. I kind of gauged the competition. I said, I could do that.
Got this.
Yeah, I could do that. So I looked on the schedule and find out there's a couple of shows coming up in October. So I signed up. So I'm literally right now in pre-contest training and dieting for my first show, which is October 22nd in Oklahoma City.
All right, well, I'm glad I asked because I didn't even know this was going on. So there you go. So now we know you got this big thing coming. How fun is that? Like, I think it's great that you're doing that. And I agree with you 100% that age is not a factor. If you want to go do something, go do it, right?
That's right.
And it's the best thing you can teach your kids is if you want to try something, do it. Why not?
Yeah, and that's I told my kids a few years ago that I was going to get back on stage, and one reason or another I would put it off. But then, literally about a month ago, I said, when is there going to be the right time? Right. There's never going to be the right time.
Right.
You're always going to find a reason not to do something.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? If anything else is going to show again my kids that you're never too old, you can never find a reason to do what you want to do. Yeah. If you have enough drive and discipline and desire, you can find a way to make it happen.
I love it. So true. Yes, bam. I know, it's bam, right? How old are your kids, by the way?
One is 24, one
Okay.
is 22, and one's 12.
Okay, well, you got a 12-year-old in there.
Yeah.
I'm asking you that question because see if you had big kids, because mine are 25, 21, and just turned 18. So mine are all we're all
right
at
in there,
adult
yeah.
age now. But I tell you, I always feel like more is caught than caught than taught. You like you don't know that
Right.
they're getting the
Right.
lessons until you see
Right.
them out there, and then you're like, oh well,
Right.
something I said actually stuck. I threw some noodles at the wall. They got them. They got the message finally, right? So fun. So good for you. I think that's awesome. You'll have to keep us posted on that. We can put something out
Sure.
that's coming up and stuff. So, okay, so. I want to talk a little bit. You've said a lot of really good things here. I want to talk really quick about some of the challenges because obviously you've been an entrepreneur pretty much your whole career,
yeah.
which is great. I think, and that's kind of how I've been too. I mean, I started, I worked for a very short while in corporate, and then when I had kids, went into the entrepreneur space. So I had my first business when I was 27, and pretty much I'm pushing it, into my 50s now. So I don't even know what it's like to do corporate, right? Like I don't even know what that's like, right? But we all know as entrepreneurs that it's a roller coaster. I mean, it's people come in and they think we're just everything falls into place, and we know it doesn't, right? So what do you feel like maybe has been, some of the things you've had to learn to overcome, or something that was really, monumental in your growth experience that helped, kind of catapult you to where you are now?
That's a great question. I think that one of the challenges that entrepreneurs have, especially if you have a real fiery entrepreneurial spirit, an aggressive one.
Yeah.
Because there are people that think they're entrepreneurs, but they really aren't.
Right, I agree.
Right? They're just water testers.
Yes.
They want to be
toe in the water.
Yeah.
It's a toe in the water.
Yeah, they're entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs.
I think heard that. Entrepreneurs.
They like the idea of being independently employed. They like the idea, but that's where it all ends, right? But for true entrepreneurs who really live by that code, the challenge is that they want to do more than they really are capable of. Yeah. Because we like the idea of business and challenges and something new, something to see if we could really make it work, and that becomes a detrimental factor because you can dilute your time in doing things that you have no business doing. It might be exciting, it might be good for someone else, but you're not called to do that. That's not your calling. You don't have the gifts to be able to do that well. Right. So one of the challenges that for me that I had to really come to grips with was, as good as all of these things that I'm presented with at times is, I can't do them all. Yeah. And I have to learn how to say no to some of these things, right? I can't say yes to everything. I need to focus on the things that I'm gifted to do. And if I'm gifted to do something and it comes along, and if I can create another lane on my highway, I'll create another lane on my highway, another lane meaning another expression of who I am. But as long as it stays on the highway that I've designed, that highway is created by my gifts and talents and my calling, right? Yeah. So I think that's the challenge that I've overcome. And even to this day, sometimes there's things that are presented to me that I'm like, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I had to say, no, I can't do that. Or maybe I'll just consider it down the road, because I have to stick to what's already in front of me. And if it doesn't align up with who I am, or I can't squeeze another lane on that highway, it's going to have to stay on the off-ramp.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of taking on too much, and sometimes too soon.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that too. And I think that has been the lesson I've had to learn as well, because you get excited about taking in lots of different things, and then you realize you can't really. One of the things we used to say in our network marketing company is you can't chase a bunch of rabbits and expect to catch any one of them by the tail, right?
Yeah.
And so I always have to tell myself that, even now, Jennifer, because sometimes somebody will present something to me and I'm like, oh, this sounds really good. Right. And I'm like, but I'm on a 14-month plan right now. Like I'm working on something, I'm vested, I need to stay focused and put on that.
Right.
And anything else, if it's not adding value to what I'm trying to do right now, it needs to just sit tight, Plus,
not only that, when you're an entrepreneur, and one of the things that you're looking to do is develop your brand, that's one thing. So you have to be protective of your brand. Mm-hmm. You cannot appear to the public to be a jack of all trade, someone that does all sorts of things, even if they're not part of your identity, you do them anyway. That is something that will dilute your brand, but also dilute your credibility.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful as an entrepreneur not to dilute your brand, but more importantly, not to dilute your credibility in the public square, because it'll be very difficult to rebuild that.
That's good advice. Absolutely. I agree with you on that too. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. So What advice would you've said a lot of really good things, so you've given us a lot of good little nuggets of wisdom here. I think that have been really good. But what advice would you give to somebody, say maybe they're starting out in this space of entrepreneurship, and maybe that's coming from the psychology standpoint of this or business side. What advice would you lend them right now?
That's a great question. Actually, I do a series called From Employee to Entrepreneur.
Okay.
Because the transition is where most people fail. I was fortunate enough, just like you, for the most part, I don't know really what it is to be an employee. Yeah. I mean, I had 3 jobs. 2 I quit, 1 I got fired from. Right? So I don't have a track record. My resume is like 1 line. Right? So
born to be entrepreneur.
Right. I am unhireable.
Yeah.
Right?
That's love it.
I'm unhireable. So I don't know what that experience is, but so if you're either you arrive at entrepreneurship one of 2 ways. You're either born into it from the get-go and that's the life you live, right? Or like a lot of people, they're employees, they're frustrated employees who want to do something a little bit more than what they're experiencing right now. So they try to transition to that entrepreneurial world. That's the research shows that entrepreneur who has arrived at entrepreneurship has come from some kind of employee experience. So that's where the problem is, because you have habits of an employee trying to develop a mindset of an entrepreneur. And oil and water don't mix. You can't bring employee-minded habits into an entrepreneurial experience. Unless, of course, you have the habit of hard work and so on. But that's the first thing I let people know, that if you are an employee and you're trying to transition into an entrepreneur, you're going to have to revisit, revamp, and re-engage with your old habits to see if they make sense bringing them over into the entrepreneurial experience. Because you'll have to realize there is no 9 to 5 on the entrepreneurial world. Right. There is no paycheck every 2 weeks in the entrepreneurial world. Right. There's no one that is going to just give you time off and still pay. That just doesn't fly. So a lot of these disciplines and habits and a change of mindset, what I find that most entrepreneurs, the reason why they fail early on is because they never make those adjustments.
Yeah, that's good.
But apart from that is you have to find something that you really are passionate about. And don't pursue an entrepreneurial effort for the profit, pursue it for the passion. Because if you do it because you love it and you're good at it and you're gifted and it's your calling, then the passion and purpose will follow, and so will the profit.
Yeah, that's good advice. I would agree with you. Definitely. You got to do things because you enjoy it in this business. Because we all know it's not. I had a guest on I can't remember which, it was on our old show, and I remember they were saying, we were talking about waking up broke every day as an entrepreneur. Every day is day one, right? Like, I think, isn't it Jeff Bezos that talks about that every day is day one? Right. Like you get up and you start all over again. Yeah. That's the mindset. You really, even if you're not, it's really kind of the mindset we have as entrepreneurs, is that we just get up and go to work, right?
You know, it's interesting. There was a guy who says something. I don't know if we can speak here.
You're fine. Yeah, absolutely. Here, right? Absolutely. Yeah, you're fine.
I can get New Yorkish, right?
Yes, you can get New Yorkish. Yes, it's good.
So there was a guy that I was having a conversation with about 6 years ago, and he described the entrepreneurial experience the best way that I've ever heard it described. He's an attorney, and we were talking about his business and my business, and he said, Jay, you know, this effing life, entrepreneurial life here is quite the bitch. He says, because we have to get up every day and pull money out of thin effing air. Yep. So when I have conversations with people that are looking to go that route, I say, are you okay with every day being able to pull money out of thin effing air? Yeah. And if that's not something you're comfortable with, you need the steady, secure, consistent paycheck week to week or every 2 weeks, then probably the entrepreneurial experience is not for you. Right. Because at the end of the day, it's like day one, right? Yeah. You're pulling money out of thin air daily, unless you've got a system that pays you residuals and things like that. But even with that, you still have to have something going in so that something can come back out. Right. Right? Yeah. And I think that's really where the rubber meets the road for a lot of people. Yeah.
I think in all of that, the word I'm hearing is you got to be resourceful. Absolutely. That's basically what it boils down to. Absolutely. You've got to be able to be a find a way, make a way kind of person, because you're going to have things happen all the time, whether it's coming up with money or having to deal with something, whatever it is, you're going to have to learn to be resourceful.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think separates the people that stick around from the people that don't, because the people that do, they don't really even look at the obstacle as going, well, if that happens, I'm just going to quit. They just know the obstacle. These things are going to happen. We just know this is part of the course. Like it's part of, like, if you were training for your bodybuilding, you're going to have good days and bad days. If you're training for a marathon, you're going to have days you don't want to get up and run, right? That's you just know this. but you just do what you got to do.
Right.
Right. You just
Right.
do what you got
And
to
then,
do.
You just keep going.
There's so many things that go into it. I mean, I have so many friends as well that have done the entrepreneurship just like I have, and I've been in my business now for
Now, he's been in forever
20
too.
plus years, and I keep telling them, and they're like, so like, yeah, it's usually like after a year, and I go, no. I go, after a year, you've just done your warm up.
Right.
Yeah.
You've stretched.
You've stretched. I go, after 5 years, you're starting.
You're getting there. Yeah.
Getting there.
Yeah.
I go, then you realize like there's certain things, and the one thing that I had to learn, and it took me a good 10 years to figure out, is that it's okay to say no to things.
You're right.
Right.
Like there were so many things, I was just like, I wanted to keep it coming in. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, yeah.
You're like all over the place.
And then I'm like here and there, and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, all right, no, I can't.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
like I need to have time for me. There's boundaries you have to set.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the the business world, the corporate world, you literally have that set for you. So you
Correct.
work from 9 to 5.
Right.
You're off at 5, and then you do. So you have to kind of figure out what those times are for you. In my industry, the entertainment, no one gets up early.
Right.
I unfortunately get up very early, and I like to start my day early, and I like to finish earlier. So everyone hates it because I will send all of my emails and everything before like 9 a.m.
They're all in bed still.
And then they're all in bed. So like I start getting responses about 1, 2 o'clock
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I like to get it done. And they're like, hey man, let's meet at like 6. And I'm like, yeah, no.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm going to be hanging out with my family, doing dinner things and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. So
right.
they're like, oh, well, what about like later? I go, no, earlier would be fine.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
That goes back to what he was saying earlier. Good
yeah.
point, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to say no if
Correct.
it doesn't align with what you're trying to do and where you're at. And
Absolutely.
I think that's all. Like I think that comes with the growth and confidence in who you are and what you're trying to represent. And even like I was talking to somebody yesterday at the Legends yesterday morning, talking about this very conversation about being selective about the people that you work with, who you choose as your clients. Like even like we were talking about who we put on the podcast, like. It all is you. It represents how you're living and how you're representing yourself is all an extension into everything that you do. And so, yeah, sometimes you just have to say no and you have to say, that's not something I can do. And yeah, we're all on the same page, which is good. I love it. Okay, we're going to get to some fun questions here, but I want to ask you this one fun question first because I want to see what you say to this. If you were to sum Jay up in one word, what would that word
Action-tainer.
be? He had that. He had an action tainer.
World's #1 action-tainer.
I like it. I've never heard that.
That's right.
Action.
That is so good. I haven't asked that question in a while. That's my favorite question, by the way, because I'm like, what are they going to say when I say that question? Like, what would you say?
It's a great question, but
It is.
I was ready for you.
You were ready. Action tainer. I like it. All right, we got to do some rapid fire. This was good, Jay. This
Good.
was really good. I love all the stuff. Like I said,
Awesome.
I know we could talk for a while. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could
yeah.
pick your
Like-mindedness.
brain. I could pick your brain for a while.
Yeah,
But I think we need to do
like-mindedness.
some rapid fire with him, don't you think?
I'm down.
Okay. Do you want to start it or do you want
Sure,
me to
sure.
start today? Because I think he's got some.
Yeah, my favorite one. First concert.
Sting,
Ooh, good one.
Jones Beach.
Good one.
Beach. Fun. I've never seen Sting. Very cool.
That's awesome.
All right. Favorite author besides yourself?
Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly. Good. Awesome. All right. You got one?
Favorite cheat food.
Oh.
Oh, that's easy. The crullers, the glazed crullers. That's easy.
That is a New York answer if I have
Yeah.
ever heard
Yeah,
one.
glazed crullers.
Crullers.
Yeah.
Crullers.
They're like donuts, guys.
I know. We know what they are. Yeah. I like donuts too, and I never eat them. I actually like Bavarian cream donuts. That's like
Oh, yeah.
mine. I love
Yeah.
them. I never eat them, but every once in a while, I'm like, I need a donut. So when you're always like not eating like that,
You
it's
always
like,
want it. Yeah.
I know. You just
I
like every
know.
once in a while, you're like, I just. Every now and then, gotta go get some ice cream. Go get
Yeah,
some
it's funny
custard.
because since I'm in pre-contest dieting right now,
Yeah.
the reason why crullers came to mind is because I wouldn't eat it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, far and few. But my days when I was competing in the past,
Yeah.
that's how I treated myself on Sundays. I used to have the crullers. So I'm dying to have one.
That's
Dying to
crazy.
have
I love them.
Yeah.
follow
And there's no
a lot.
shortage of donut shops out here in
I know.
Dallas.
I know.
Oh, no, there's not.
I mean,
there's
there's
a lot of
gas
food in
station, there's a
Dallas.
donut
I know.
shop.
There's a lot of food in Dallas, period, I think.
But there's also a gym right next to every donut.
Yeah, right by the
shop.
donut.
That's what's hilarious.
It's unbelievable.
Jim's. I know. Like I'm thinking, I work at the LA Fitness off in Carrollton off Midway, and there was a donut, but the GG cupcakes are right next to them.
Yeah.
like they got them right
something.
there. And I'm like, so all you gotta do is pull out, and then there's the Gigi's cupcakes, you know, and those are just gorgeous looking, you know. It's like, all right.
They should really, multi-market that and be like, if you want these, you
gotta
go
do
there.
this.
Yeah, right,
Would they not? Would that
Earn
not be
them,
great?
right? You want these? Earn them.
Yeah, if you say
Exactly.
earn them.
Right. Maybe more people would show up at the gym to get those coolers, right? That's so awesome. All right. One last question. This is a fun one. What's in your Amazon cart right now?
Oh, the terminal list
The terminal list.
with Chris Pratt. Awesome.
Is it good? I keep clicking. I keep hearing
Awesome.
that it's good.
I keep hearing that it was great. And
It's a really good show.
You watched it?
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Okay. I'll have to check it out.
I'm not a big TV watcher.
Yeah.
And I don't binge watch anything.
Yeah.
But that one I couldn't wait to get. I mean, I could have literally sat and watched hours of it. I had to pull myself away. It's that good.
I need to check it out. I don't watch a lot either. I hate to watch series because if I'm going to sit down, I just want to watch something and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
But we just got hung up on Ozark.
I heard that was pretty
Oh
good.
my gosh, it
really
was. I started that, and then so like every night I'm like, we got to sit down and watch an episode of ours every night. And then when it got to the end, I was so mad because I'm like, now what do I do? There's no Ozark.
Right.
Like we binged it in a month.
Wow.
Like totally finished the whole season
Wow,
in like a
wow.
month, like all the seasons. But yes, it was very good, very good. So, all right, Jay, this has been awesome. You're amazing.
Thank
Love
you.
what you're
It was fun.
doing. All the greatness, your show, to our audience. Go check out what he's doing. I know you've got is it like 5 books? How many books do you have right now?
Actually, that's up to 9.
Up to
I
9,
gotta update
okay.
where you read that.
You've done 9 books. Amazing. Okay. So for our audience, if they want to learn more about you, find these books, your courses, the radio show, everything, where do we want to send them?
The hub station, the hub site rather, is thejmaymi.com.
Okay.
There they'll find a link to the JayMaymiTalkShow.com, links to my books and the Thrive Sales Mastery course. They can all find stuff from that hub site.
Okay. And we'll make sure too, when we get this, put together and everything, we'll tag you. We'll make sure the
Awesome.
website's in there so they know where to go and find you. So it's been awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks
this
for
is
being
great.
on the
This
show.
is quite the setup you've got here.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
thanks you. Thank you. So we want to say to our audience, of course, if you enjoy our show, please be sure you give us a rating both on iTunes and Facebook. We can't do this without you. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And we want to leave you with a final thought. All right. In order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We will see you next time.